All right, so hello and welcome back. Today, I wanted to discuss something the Lord's been placing in my heart, and He just recently wanted to discuss this. So, we are discussing becoming a woman of high value, and how we can achieve that. Even if we've never had a community, even if we've never had people in our lives trying to cheer us on, trying to, allow us to see ourselves for who we are, right? Because I didn't grow up with anybody pouring into me but God. And I never had a community. I never had a family who allowed me to see myself the way that God saw me. And this is for the woman who has felt rejected and just overlooked and just beat up by the world, right? Because the enemy is going to use every single person in your life. If you are this person who has felt this way, he uses everybody in our lives to try and take our identity. And just looking at the life of Jesus, right? Looking at his life, like what he endured and how he lived his life, and how the enemy used everybody around him, everybody, those closest to him. And the truth of the matter is that the enemy uses the same exact scheme on us. Like, he uses the same exact thing, the same exact strategy. And what his aim is to really just keep us from ourselves, keep us from seeing ourselves the way that the Lord sees us. And that's ultimately the strategy there, is to how can we as women learn to love ourselves so much that we can't be rocked with any situation, that we cannot be rocked, we cannot be swayed, we won't be double-minded, we'll stand firm in ourselves. So that's really something that the Lord really wants his children, his daughters, to understand. And it is easier said than done. But let me tell you that the Lord actually has put me in these situations because he has led me through seasons of my life where I felt so alone and I felt so devalued, so overlooked, so unseen. I felt invisible. I felt like nobody saw me, and I felt like nobody heard me. No one cared about what I had to say. No one cared about what I had to bring to the table. And it wasn't like this was something that happened to me one time. I mean, I grew up in this environment. And the Lord showed me, revealed to me when I was doing, when I was going through my season of pruning and purification, and really just deliverance and healing, because he was sharpening out, cultivating out the woman that I am and that I was created to be. And he allowed certain situations, he's allowed all the situations to happen to me because he had a purpose in mind. And there's so much that we can say to someone when we want to motivate people, but when it's something that you actually endured and encountered for purpose, it's a very challenging, and it's something that I can really relate to, and say that I've been there and that I have felt the weight of the world, the weight and the burdens of insecurity, of anxiety, of trauma, of neglect, like having to overcome those like boulders that are just on you. And just feeling like you're in survival, right? Because when we're in these situations and we're just trying to endure and trying to make it, like, we just believe the lies. We believe the lies. We start to really think of ourselves as unworthy and unlovable, unvalued. And it is absolutely so freeing and so liberating to know that that was all a scheme of the devil. It was all a scheme. It was all a plot. It was all a lie. It was all a fixed illusion, because the enemy fought tooth and nail against me. And let me tell you why and how. and how us being centered in the Lord and centered in our identity is our ultimate battle. And it's our weapon, against everything in the world, against every circumstance that comes against us. And it doesn't matter when people come and try to betray us and try to make us, try to silence us, try to just impose their thoughts on us or get us to like not love ourselves, because that's the goal of the enemy, right? And it feels like you're surrounded when you're battling these things, because the world it's just filled with people. You have to understand that the world is filled with people who have open doors. So when you have open doors, you are free range for the enemy to use you. So you're going to think about this. 99.9% of people in the world, if it's your mom, if it's your dad, if it's your sister, if it's your best friend, if it's your husband, if it's your wife, well, obviously husband, because we're talking to ladies here, but you have to understand and come to the realization and come to that place where you know that it's not you, that you know that it's the enemy's schemes, that it's the weapons that he forms, it's the darts that he throws, it's the darts that are coming against your identity. And trust me when I tell you that he will use everybody and everything, and he will give you the low blows. He'll hit you with the low blows. He'll hit you with the petty, all the no's, all the denials, all the rejections. He will be the one to do it. I mean, my life has been filled with a lot of no's. And now I just love the way that God has really trained me, because the funny thing about God is, I love how he's just so strategic, but he loves to use everything as a chess move. Like, okay, well, really what he was doing to me is he was sharpening me up in the spirit where I can learn how to deny myself. I learned to move with logic. I learned not to be moved by my emotions, because you get to the point where you're so like used to it that you're like gonna go into, there's one of two ways where you're going to lead into living your life. You're either going to be a liar or become something you're not. You're either going to be masking yourself into being like everyone else or like somebody else or like a lot of people, or you're just going to learn how to stand strong and deny your flesh. Really, honestly, that's what I really can see now. That has been my case. Like, the Lord taught me to be okay with denying myself, denying my flesh. I mean, from the beginning of time, from the beginning of my life, I can really say that God has shown me that I was meant to live a life of sacrifice. And I was meant to live a life that he ordained for me. And it was a very hard thing because, growing up in an environment where you see other people have so much more than you do, even just the bare bones of a framework of what a life is, right? Like, you have your family and you have, now in today's society, this is why it's heartbreaking to see parents and families break apart, because I was there. I know what it feels like to have broken parents and broken family and just not have identity in the home. Although my parents weren't divorced, I felt the effects of that. I saw the dynamics. I saw so much that I can take, that I have taken and I've took on, but also the parts that the Lord was like, let me dust this off, the foundation of what I want you to be and how I want you to operate. is that framework in your childhood. There is that framework. Now, let me take off all of the hurt and all of the things that were not really from me. That is what he does when he heals you. So I just want to like encourage you and to know, like, when you stand on the Lord and when you really come to know him, you come to know who you are, and you come to see how amazing and strategic he is. Because the first thing that I want to speak on is, do not put your identity in anybody. And I know that this is something that is said a lot, but I want to give you my experience, because I think many of us are too ashamed to share a lot of like the details that go in with what that looks like. And what I'm saying is that I have felt rejected in all areas. Like, I have felt rejected with my mom. I have felt rejected with my dad. I have felt rejected with my siblings. I have felt rejected with my friends. I have felt rejected with my husband. I have felt rejected with my in-laws. I have felt rejected in all areas of my life. And it was a very rough journey for me, because I walked around with this like wounded soul, a wounded spirit. And although on the outside, maybe people would have seen me and would have been like, oh, thought whatever they wanted of me. But let me tell you that the Lord, since I was 10, he gave me an outlet. And I don't even know how this happened. Like, I honestly look back and I'm like, God, that you're so cute, because like he like leads you. But I started working out when I was 11. Now, it started with me being like really into just doing crunches. Like, I would do like 100 crunches during our novela commercials, right? And then I went into like learning how to cook. And now this wasn't like, my mom, she took on so much. Like, she never put it on us to do all that, like the cooking part. That was really just me genuinely being like, I need to eat healthy, Now, there was like a wound, and I'm not going to lie and say that it wasn't, but like I was like the bigger daughter, the bigger child out of the three girls, my sisters. And so that really was kind of a bit of a trigger. But now I see, when I look back, I'm like, man, the Lord did that on purpose. And he allowed it to be on purpose, because the enemy would lie to me so much. And he would always make me feel like, you're fat. But I would always be like, okay, well, I'm going to do something about it. I'm going to work out. I'm going to go for a run. I'm going to eat clean. I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. I was always a very active person. Now, this also coincides with our need to have control, right? So I also, when I was enduring these triggers and stuff, I learned so much. I learned how to deprive myself from like what I wanted all the time. I learned balance, and now it came from an idol, right? Like, it did come from an idol place. It came from a place of idolatry. Like, I wanted to be thin. I wanted to look my best. In my mind, and how the enemy lied to me, though, like, I never felt my best. And people would always like compliment me. I'm not gonna lie. They would say things about me, or they would think things of me, but I didn't see myself that way. I saw myself as this like invisible, overlooked, mute, because I never had anybody, like, when I tell you nobody really sharpened me. I didn't. I had people in my life who would just watch me, and it was like they would just watch me, and it was like people would just watch you step back, and they're just watching you to fall into a pit or something. I don't know. I know that the Lord revealed to me that the Jezebel spirit was around me all my life, and so they were used by the enemy. They were used to not ever cheer me on. And I would always be the one, like, happy for people, like when they achieve something. But when it came to me, like, nobody would celebrate me. And then I just really became absolutely just so wounded, so sad. And like, honestly, I just felt so unloved. I felt unlovable. And, I felt like there was something wrong with me for all my life, I just felt like I couldn't escape this life. Like, why am I living this life? Like, why does everything have to be so barren? Like, why does everything have to be, I'm surrounded, God. Like, there's nothing that I have. Like, I have nobody. I have nothing. I have no value within myself. I felt so low, and when I look back now, I'm so grateful that God, he gave me an outlet. And although it was like an idol, it also like really saved me, because before I knew his word, I was really into working out, and that was my weapon. My workouts were my weapon, and that is how I would resist the enemy. I would resist his darts. Although, I still felt unloved, and I still felt overweight. Like, even though I was, like 115 pounds in high school, I still felt like so ugly inside. I felt ugly. I felt fat. I felt so unworthy, so lost. I had no sense of like security at all. Like, I was like just floating in this place, in this universe, that I just didn't feel anything, that there was any value in me. And this is how I grew up. This was the framework of my life. And I just look back and I realize how much God was with me in those areas where he taught me how to resist without me even knowing. And there's just so much I can go into also. And I think I'm going to save it for next episode, because I do think that this is important to talk about too. But I just love the way that God does things, because he really, when you come into a place of surrender and submission and really being still, like, stop looking at everyone else. When you stop looking at everyone else, like, for real, and you really like submit yourself to God and say, God, heal me, show me, teach me about me. What am I doing to mask myself? What am I doing to hide myself? The way that Adam and Eve, the first thing when the enemy spoke to them, what did they do? They hid because they were ashamed. So the moment that the enemy starts to speak to you, you will feel shame, and you will cover yourself up with those fig leaves. What are you using as a fig leaf? What are you using to cover up? What are you using? What are you using to mask yourself and to change and to hide? And the Lord's like, I'm done. I'm tired of my daughters hiding behind idolatry. I had a period where I just never really wanted to wear, not be barefaced. And now I'm like, I love being barefaced. Like, I love not wearing makeup. And it's so freeing, because for a long time, I didn't like myself. I didn't think I was beautiful. I felt so atrocious. Like, I did not feel beautiful at all. Like, I felt, and the thing is that the enemy, everyone that I became close to around, even the second part of my life, I'm not even saying my second part of my life. I've entered into my second part of my life, but like the later part of my life, after I went into like being an alcoholic and partying, which is something I'm going to discuss in another video, because that's another thing that the Lord taught me and showed me. But even after that, the enemy used open doors in my life, and the people that I was around. He used these people to never speak life to me, to continue. And it was like a silent thing. It wasn't anything they would ever say, but it was like, the thoughts that were in their minds, when you can see that. And they don't even want to help you. Like, they don't want to show you love. They don't want to show you a way out of the pit. Like, hey, you don't have to feel like that. That's a lie, They almost like enjoy watching you suffer in silence and be insecure, and like these people that just watch you fall into a pit. I was surrounded by this, like, all my life. But, God's saying, like, I want to free you, and I want to give you and show you your value. I want you to know who I am, and I want you to know who you are, because your value is going to come from me. Your value is going to come from the Lord. And trust me when I tell you that when you cultivate that relationship with the Lord and He shows you who you are, I mean, you're going to shine like you don't even understand. I am a firm believer that fitness is number one. Not number one. Number two. But you need to be working out. You need to be working out daily. And this is something that is so important, and that the Lord showed me really early in my life. I mean, I'm telling you, I was 10, 11 years old. Like, it wasn't like because it's trendy now I work out. No, I've always done it. And the thing is that the Lord taught me so much in this, like, so much through fitness. And now that I have 5 kids, like, honestly, my body didn't change drastically, because I've always worked out. I've always ate healthy, eat a lot of fruits and vegetables. I just love it. I drink a lot of water. This is my daily. And this is what I'm saying, that these are weapons. These are weapons that we have as women to reframe ourselves and to see, like, man, I'm gonna be my best, no matter who is around, no matter what, no matter who tries to bring me down. It doesn't matter. I'm valuable. And when you pour into yourself without needing anyone else to do it, oh, let me tell you, it's so beautiful to feel like empowered and so bulletproof, because that is what the Word of God does. It brings you into this knowing that you are just so valuable, that you are so unique, and you're just a queen. Okay, you're a queen. You don't have to say it. You don't even have to put it on your bio. You don't got to be sitting there telling people, oh, well, I'm a queen and I'm this and I'm that. No. You are that. People can see it. I mean, I'm telling you, I'm not trying to brag about myself. I don't like it. But I mean, people stare, and I'm like, I know it's not me. It's the glory of God. I mean, they've always done that, because it's like the Holy Spirit's always been with me. And although I didn't really acknowledge it before, like, the Holy Spirit has always been with me and has led me into all truth. And I'm just here to tell you, Romans 12:2, do not conform to the patterns of this world. Do not conform to the words of the people around you, the people, even your husband. Okay, if you came into a marriage, because I came into my marriage as a very broken girl. I came into my relationship with my husband as a very broken person, unhealed, just in the motions of life, of what my life has been, had been, and how it had gone, and the trajectory of my life that I thought that was just like, this is just life, like my life just kind of feels like this, and this is what it is. Like, it's a mediocre life of being around people that will never cheer me on. And it is what it is. You know, I accepted it. I was like, you know what? I don't need it. I don't need community. I don't need this and that. But when I went into my marriage and the enemy used my husband against me, against my value, he thought he thought that he could take me down. He thought that he would win. He thought that I would break. He really thought that he could steal me from me. But actually, that's when I came alive. That is when I was like, God, you know what? I must be something, because this guy won't let out. Like, he won't let up. He is after everything. And the Lord, when I saw him with all my heart, the idols were gone. When he had my attention, when he had all of me, and I said, God, you lead me. You lead me, God. What do you want me to do? Because my husband, you know, was unfaithful. And God showed me everything that I needed to know. Like, he showed me, like, this is what's going on. And there's just so much. There's so much. There's so much that could have came after me. Could have taken my identity, could have taken my security, could have taken me. But I said, no, I'm not going to. I am not going to let go of myself. I'm not going to allow the enemies to steal from me, even though he used the very person that I was closest to in my own mind, I guess, because there was a lot of going on with my relationship. That's something I will go really deep into, because there's such a level of like beauty with how God has written my story, and it's very complex. It's very complex. It's a very multifaceted thing that I really cannot just overlook. I have to really give you the whole thing, because there's just so much grace that I can see in this situation that most people would be like, oh, you know, you're gotten cheated on. Oh, you got this and that. Like, there is such a journey through that. It was not, that was when my real identity came forth, was through this betrayal. And like, I girded up and I was just like, absolutely, you ain't stealing me. You can try to steal everything from me. That's what God says. Seek ye first the kingdom. Because guess what? When you seek ye first the kingdom and everything else falls and everything else gets taken and everyone else is trying to come against you and everything else, it just seems like they're trying to steal from you. They're trying to knock you. They're trying to belittle you. They're trying to, you know, reject you, corner you, ostracize you. It don't matter. You stand in who you are, and because of the reason that you're standing is you're gonna get it more, and it is what it is. You know, at that point it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, because you are loved and you value yourself and you value who you are so strongly. And it's just like, with so many people in the world that are so insecure, and they're just following, oh, now this is trendy, okay, everybody go this way. Now this is trending, now everybody go this way. And all of a sudden it's like, you're just all this, you're like 5 different multiple personalities. Like, oh, first you were all about going shopping, and now, oh, you want to be all about what's trendy. Like, oh, now it's all about the Lord. Okay, well, guess what? Did you do the work? Did you break your idols? Did you go through the fire? Then don't try to be shepherding people into something that you don't know about. If you are in a journey, that's a beautiful thing, but you are not in a place to shepherd the flock that was not given to you because you have a following. That's the thing. It's like, I think it's beautiful that there's people that have been of influence that are coming to Christ. But if you're still sitting there posting bikini pictures, and then you're talking about God. That's not the Lord. And this is why I'm saying, like, you got to check your heart. You got to check your heart. You have to let the Lord check your heart, because you can't really check your heart. God is the one who's going to make everything resurface, everything to come to the surface. He's going to prune you, but he's not going to prune you if you don't ask him. So yeah, you can have a beautiful body. You can be beautiful. You can wear the makeup. You can buy the clothes. You can be beautiful. But like, it's not your identity, and it's not a cover up, and it's not something to make you feel worthy. Because at the end of the day, you can have all that and people are still going to talk about you. They're still going to hate on you. They're still going to try to watch you fall into a pit. They're still going to cheat on you. They're still going to do all that because they are people, and they're open doors for the enemy. He's going to use those people. You better believe, put your money on the bank, that he's going to use these people. There are very few people in the world that are actually filled with the Lord, and that I have yet to meet anyone that, honestly, that has been solid, other than my mom. But my mom, she's pretty solid, but like, there's a lot of things of her that she doesn't value herself enough, that I wish she would see herself the way I see her. And she's super strong. She's endured a lot, but she also, raised me to devalue myself. And this is just the truth, because it's just that, abuse, that stronghold that's been in her mind. And I know that the Lord is breaking. I pray for her to be released from that stronghold, because it's something that really holds you back. And a lot of women are there because we put so much on the men and our husbands and our family, and this idolatry that we think we need. And it really hurts us more than anything. And it hurts us because the enemy uses that against us. He uses those people against us the most. Unless you're walking with a man of God, a man who's like prayerful, a man who's filled with the Holy Spirit, who knows how to take a no, who knows how to submit to the Lord, who knows how to like just be bulletproof. Let me tell you, the enemy's going to use your husband any which way he can. Let it be in the beginning or in the end. It's just like a dormant thing. Like, the enemy is all about people fornicating. He want you to fornicate. But once you come into that marriage, for me, it was infidelity and a lack of communication. It was a lot of us coming against each other, weapons formed against each other, all that. For some people, it's just the chaos. It's, complacency. There's just so much, but the enemy will always attack. And the only way that you can ever overcome is just knowing who you are in the Lord. Knowing the Lord and knowing who you are in the Lord. And knowing your value. Because you are valuable. We are assets to our families. We are assets to our households. We are the favor and we are the influence. We influence our children daily. They emulate who we are. And we need to value who we are as women, and we need to cultivate that within ourselves. I do it daily, when I work out, when I eat healthy, when I drink my water, when I go and, run with my children and clean up, and do whatever the Lord leads me to do. That's cultivating value in you. I'm not looking at who else is doing this and, what's trendy, I'm going to go do that. No. I don't really care. It's a waste of my time and my energy. I'm doing me. I'm doing what the Lord asked me to do. I am beautifying myself. I'm smelling like a good fragrance to the Lord, because my prayers reach heaven. My prayers move heaven. I get a host of army of angels that come up and when I say, hey, God, this is what I need, let me tell you, I see things move. I see things move because the favor of God is in my life. Because I have been gone through it. The purity, the purification, the sanctification, the submission, the humbling. I mean, it's been a process. But I stand firm. And can nobody steal from me anymore? Can nobody steal me from me anymore? When I go to my kids' practices and the moms are just looking at me all like, sideways and stuff. It's like, I don't care. I know the enemy is the one plaguing their minds. Like, this is what I'm saying. Like, you can't look at what people think of you or say of you, because it's not them. And you just got to stand firm in knowing that. You got to stand firm in knowing who you are. So yeah, I think next episode I'll go into the details of like my marriage. I kind of feel like, I don't know if I want to go there yet, because I don't want it to be based, this series to be based on that. I want it to be based on what the Lord wants to lead me to. That is something I do know that it played a big part in me finding myself. So it is something that I want to address, but I don't want it to be the focal point, because there's so much more to us than just putting our relationships as something that's like, no, we're bringing ourselves higher with the Lord, in the Word. So be transformed by the renewal of your mind, that you may figure out the will of God, the perfect will of God in your life, because we all have different purposes. It's time to stop trying to be a little sheep, hoarding here, hoarding there, da-da-da. You walk your path, you walk your way, and trust me that people are going to be like, okay. That confidence really brings a lot of attention to you, even when you don't want it, because people are like, who is this chick? She thinks she's something. I know I'm something. So anyway, that's all for today. I just hope that you are encouraged by this episode today, and I hope that you are just doing something for yourself. Obviously, read the Word of God, because that's number one. Come on, I don't got to tell you that. Okay, you should know this. But we'll go for a walk. 30-minute walk. Drink a lot of water. Have a salad. Feel good. Because when you feel good inside and you are just this vessel of so much hope and just a willing vessel and a healthy vessel, you're going to be it. So we'll talk later, but I hope today was edifying and has encouraged you to walk this walk, because we're doing something here. All right. Bye.